Microsoft Surface is part of the NFL playoffs, so are superstitions. Swipe lightly with the pen, get the ball back again. Surface times 2, touchdown for you. Hold Surface, turn around, defense scores a touchdown. Respect the power of Surface. Microsoft Surface is part of the NFL, so are superstitions. Spin it right, stop a kick in flight. Hold Surface and tap your ear, touchdowns are near. Swipe with your nose for accurate throws. Respect the power of Surface.
What's up, James? How's it going?
We just met mostly, and so I now know it's okay to call you JJ, right?
Yep. This is nice not wearing a mask.
Yeah, it is actually.
Stay people.
Discussed.
So I've been looking forward to this conversation for many reasons. But anyone that watches the NFL on a Sunday, everyone has been impacted by the partnership that is the NFL and Microsoft. And now the Sunday goes by when I'm not personally, seeing it in action. Both the technology, but just the services and all of the things that you all have been doing. I would really love for the background story. How did this partnership begin? What's the history? What was the strategy behind this partnership?
Yeah. So thank you for asking. One of the funny things is I just recently was talking to our head of brand advertising and research, and she didn't even know I was speaking here, but she said, when you speak, it's always great to be interesting, but it's really important to be relevant. And so I want to do both here today. And so a lot of what we do as a technology company, sometimes you might think, okay, maybe that doesn't necessarily apply to some of the other brands that are out here that are looking to do something different. But I just say, think about it. It comes back to that authenticity. You're going to hear me talk about that quite a bit. So when the deal started, it was really a big Xbox deal. And Surface was not yet really in market. And it was mostly about what we're going to do from an Xbox perspective and a small sort of line about and Surface as well. And also with marketing and with brand and with partnerships, it's a growth opportunity. It constantly evolves, and you have to be able to evolve with it. And really the idea for Surface was, how do we not have a sponsorship, but how do we have this really unique technology partnership that all really stems from what is it we're trying to do with our product? How can that work with the partner? And then how do you leverage, the strength of that partnership? So I think those are some sort of principles that everybody can look at. And so we started looking at, where are the opportunities for our products? And at that time, Surface and Windows and Xbox were part of the deal. And so we looked at opportunities, and Surface on the sidelines made a lot of sense. So that's where it started. It started from that really key idea, which is, how do you have really an authentic technology partnership? Because just slapping on the logo, we're in a fortunate position that a lot of people have heard of Microsoft. So like the awareness play wasn't really big, like for Microsoft. And so they're fortunate to be there. So find something different and not slap the logo, but figure out that really authentic solution.
Coming from Xbox to Surface, and was it, how did that happen? Was it just like, we need to push these products more, and so let's find a way to get in there? Or was it like, what was that organic relationship?
Of course. So without, going down too far down memory lane and boring people, again, a partnership is evolving constantly. And Surface, we were inventing a new category, like a 2-in-1 didn't exist. And so we had a big opportunity to explain to the world this new product that we had. And so Xbox is a much more robust business. It's also had some different goals. And so as this partnership evolved, and we recognized that there's this amazing technology that we have built in conjunction with the NFL, that was really where we were going to continue to see the best results out of our partnership.
Gotcha. So the NFL was at the table in discussions of product integration. I mean, like, was this, Microsoft bringing ideas to the NFL? Was the NFL saying, we really would need, we're really looking for this technology? Tell us about that, the product integration over time.
Certainly. So again, to stay relevant and hopefully interesting, one of the big things that you look at is, what is it that you're going to develop that makes sense for that authentic technology? And so we looked at, what are coaches and players doing? What do they need? What is the NFL looking for opportunities? And so to be frank, there is a partnership agreement already there, because the NFL, I mean, a number of you in this room probably have worked with, are working with, or looking to work with, and you understand the product. You want to tap into that fandom and that reach and the power of that brand. And we really, like I said, we want to do it in a unique way. So having the partnership there, working with the individuals that we knew had an appetite for our technology. And then, when you think about it, at the end of the day, we have these really experts in technology and Surface and Windows specifically in this team of mine. And we looked at the NFL, and they are experts in football, and they also have some great technologists. So working with them, working with the people that are involved, saying, where are these different opportunities for us to be involved in football while still following the NFL's lead on what is that, the sanctity of the game? If you've worked with them, you've probably heard that before. You may have a great idea, and they're like, that's just not going to work with the sanctity of the game. So again, where other people had, I think, tried and not been as successful, is they came in with this idea like, hey, this is our product. This is how it's going to work. We didn't do that. We said, all right, we've got your technologists, we've got our marketing, we've got our PR, we've got your coaches, we've got players, we've got video directors. And we had this really unique approach that everybody got involved. And I know that you've all been there where you're like, there's too many people involved. How do you ever get anything done? We had, again, that North Star, which was, how do we build something authentic to be able to then go tell the world about it? And to your point, build something that's highly visible. So I might not even have to go tell that story, right? I'm not now telling everybody that Surface is being used. You see it. And so that was my big sort of, how do you turn marketing on its head a little bit, which is, instead of constantly paying to tell that story and creating that new creative and pushing that, having a new, like, you can just turn on and you see the product. You know it's being trusted. It's the first thing that the top players are coming and grabbing after they get off of either offense, defense, special teams. They're grabbing that Surface. So now, if you start thinking more of the marketing, the traditional marketing, not just building that technology, now how do you tell that story? How do you leverage that brand? And, it's funny, I think about it in three ways. I think about the NFL as the enterprise, right? And you all have different customers and you're going to have different segments, but I think about the NFL as the enterprise. And then you have the small to medium business, which the NFL clubs, because right, there are 100 employees, they've got 100 contractors, but they're billion-dollar small businesses, but they have the needs. So you think about it that way. And then the players have charities. They have businesses of their own. They have their own brand. And so that's that small to medium business, but again, with tremendous influence. So when you start thinking about authenticity of what you're going to deploy, now you start thinking about what is this business and what are the things where you can actually not just go help people do more, but also help people do more for good. Like, that's where you really start winning. And so that's that next progression of then how do we start getting to the creative and marketing pieces.
Fascinating.
Too long?
No, it's just, I have an appreciation for the word authenticity, because there's so many logos being slapped on stuff without any foresight or strategy. And the payoff is typically zero, right? I want to pause for a moment and I want to ask, who do you have on Sunday?
Man, we did talk before this. We talked outside, and I thought we were cool. So he's on the spot. Here's the thing. Again, not just a PR answer that you might be expecting. I work with every club, and I like them all. seriously though, the power of the NFL, the power of the clubs, the players, we have unique relationships across the board. So there's the fan in me, and then there's the business person in me. And so the business person in me truly says this, no joke. It's hard for me to pick a favorite, right? The fan in me, my uncle actually played for the Bengals. He was a quarterback. Jack Thompson, an amazing man that he uses words like respect, discipline, and loyalty and love. And so he was a Bengals, so I got to go Bengals.
All right.
I'm sure Jack, you saw this, so I used your name without your permission.
I'm sure there's got to be another Bengals fan in here. If you wanted to. Okay, there we go.
For the record, that's one. Oh, okay.
You too. Okay. Everyone else wins. All right. And unfortunately, I am a lifelong Washington football team or Washington Commanders. Like, sorry, I'm not over it. I don't know what I'll be over. Let's talk about the partnership. How does this come to life for fans?
Yeah. So, excellent segue, actually, because now that third piece, right? So we talk about the authentic partnership. We talk about how we think about the businesses, what are the different things that we should have come to life. And now that third piece is we look at, what is that North Star? Brand love. We really want to drive brand love. And when you think about that and you have the authentic piece, now you do a lot of the things that I'm sure everybody does. You've got that overarching strategy. That strategy then informs your creative brief. Your creative brief is going to then inform the agency that you're going to work with. You're going to go through multiple iterations of ideas. They're going to come back and forth. They're going to think about what are owned and operated channels and what medium, what asks, like all of that different mix starts to come into play. But again, it starts with what do you see? And we had a video we're going to show you to kick this off, and then one at the end, but we'll find a way to get a link out to folks afterwards. But it starts with Surface on the sidelines. And the idea that Microsoft technology is better together with the NFL. Now, that's a hard statement to make for a lot of folks because you could say, well, what about this product or what about that product? And I said, well, when you work in a large company, if you work in sports or you have, and this is why I hope I'm relevant to everybody, just a little thing to think about. You sometimes have what's the right word? You're not encumbered by some of the same things that everybody on this company is focused on. You have a responsibility to deliver on your partnership. You have a responsibility to the products that are involved in that partnership. Well, so our products are Surface and Windows and Microsoft Teams. And so finding the ways for those to authentically change the way the game's happening, you tell that story, you build that, and then you take yourself maybe way too seriously. You have a great creative agency that puts a spin on it humorously. And so you've got this idea that technology is changing the game, which it did, which is a big statement to make, but it did. It changed the way they make decisions in the game. It changed the way people are thinking about it. It changes the way that you can communicate and teach and learn when seconds matter. They take that concept and they say, yeah, that's better together, but how about the fun that you can have with it? So what are people doing on the side? So you've got a player swiping with their nose. And so it's like swipe with your nose for accurate throws, right? So having these contents that come up and these funny sort of lines, but it still is based on that better together concept, how the technology works, how the partnership works together. And then what is it, what are you trying to reach the fans with? And so that's that next piece. And even if I back up a moment, because you asked me earlier about like, really early on partnerships and how they evolve, and the difference from Xbox and now. Microsoft Teams was a new addition to our partnership just a couple of years ago. And you can imagine the world is in a very different place, right? We're a lot of uncertainty. I know we still have uncertainty, but events were canceled. And the NFL draft was going to go on. And we had to figure out a way, and it was changing daily. Because all this new information is coming in. And so again, following the same rule, not just trying to show, hey, this is the technology, we're a partner. Instead, now you're talking to IT and network security and comms and draft and owners and clubs, and how can we safely and really reliably deliver you a system in Microsoft Teams that allows you to make draft picks, right? How do you trust a partner that is going to deliver you that? So again, you think about these opportunities. If you do it right and you have these communications, yes, you're going to argue with the NFL. You're going to argue with them, but keep those lines of communication open. Look for new opportunities. Service on the sidelines, Microsoft Surface, instant replay, building that out. That comes from a place of, let's speed up the game. Let's get more information. Let's get it quicker. A referee running from an end zone 90 yards all the way back to a single spot turns into 2 surfaces on each 20. They're running it out to the right. That alone saves a tremendous amount of time and helps keep people engaged. So there are these different opportunities where your partnership evolves, you keep finding those, and then you tell some funny stories that are hopefully really engaging and get people excited about it.
Talk to me. You mentioned the term brand love, and at Edelman, we're lucky enough to work with Microsoft,
Yes.
and we hear that phrase a lot. And I'm just curious if you have an explanation, or how explain that for the audience. When you talk about brand love, what does that mean?
Sure. By the way, full disclosure, we don't know each other. 2 big companies, and so yes, I am familiar. Your company provides great research. I have seen a lot of different things from audience and insights, and so to answer your question, brand love to me in my group, the strategic partnership group led by Jeff Hansen, this has been something that he's been pushing forever. Brand love is at its core, how much do you enjoy the company? What does it mean to you? And so if I think about like, what does it take for you to be an advocate for this company? If I bring something new up, are you going to be interested in that? If your friends are considering things, are you going to be sharing that? Like, are you connected to us? And so finding those ways in sports is a great way, where like fans, I'm not English isn't my strong suit, but I'm gonna go with like fans came from Fanatic and Fanatic from being really excited about something. So tapping into that passion. Again, as you said, not slapping a logo on something. Today, you cannot do that. You'll be seen through in a heartbeat. If you are inauthentic to your brand or the folks you're trying to talk to, you did yourself a disservice. So brand love, do you love working with our company? Do you love our products? And how do you continue to try and tap into that? That's what brand love means.
I think 1 more minute, or what question?
Yep, 1 more
minute. 1 more minute. Okay, I'm gonna throw this in real quick. So a lot of people know Edelman. We do the Edelman Trust Barometer every year. In 22 years, we obsess about this concept of trust and how stakeholders can be enhanced in terms of the trust for a brand. We did a study here that found that Gen Z, within Gen Z, 75% of 14 to 24-year-olds are weekly gaming. And Microsoft seems to be doubling down on gaming. What do you, from a partnership perspective, when you think about gaming, what is that? Like, what's the next game here in terms of, gaming and partnerships and sports marketing?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, can't go into that too much because I have a partner in Xbox that, his role to go in deep on that. What I would say though is obviously gaming is important. Not only the gaming business at Microsoft, that's obvious, you can read this. And on our side too, from strategic partnerships, we also understand sports. We know that is something that we're continually keeping our eye on as well. So there's a gentleman on the strategic partnership teams that runs the Cloud9 partnership, for example. And so it's not lost on us. We're continuing to work with partners like you that help us stay informed. And again, this is one of those great areas when you think about sports partnerships, you are talking to people across the age spectrum, and you're really talking to people from all walks of life, right? Like sports, if we don't like each other's teams, yes, we are going to have a conversation. But if we're on the same team too, like everybody is hugging and high-fiving, like you are in on your team. And if you're helping your team win games, and you're bringing pieces to what your company is doing authentically, again, help the teams, you're going to build on that brand love.
One question? Yeah. Okay. Anybody got a question for the great James here?
Oh, you want my mic? Oh,
Do we have questions? You got questions. What's going on, James? So it sounds like you're trying to really grow your partnership up with the NFL, right? So more technology, more ways to streamline the game. But has there ever been some talk about maybe trying to expand down into like the grassroots level? Because it sounds like you really made like a platform for the sideline and really for the game.
So just so I understand, like, do you want to give me a little bit better? What do you think when you mean grassroots?
Yeah, like the college level, the high school level, basically like creating tools for players to understand the game better, to consume it more.
Sure. So a little outside my element, but I'll give you, or not. We also have enterprise teams, right? So enterprise teams are out supporting high school. We have K through 12. We have, again, like higher education teams. So there are Microsoft customers across the field from education grades. From a partnership perspective, we look at ways, at least it's important to me to find ways to not just make everybody, achieve more. I really like to try and achieve more for the good. So we didn't go into depth, but I'll give you one example. The Polynesian Football Hall of Fame and the Polynesian Bowl, they specialize in helping the community, especially underserved. And there are schools that are struggling from a digital divide. Education is an issue. And so a beautiful thing you can do is I can work with the NFL and we can talk about it. How can they help support? I can work with Hawaiian and Samoan players, people from Polynesia. And so working with them to donate Surface devices to the Polynesian Football Hall of Fame, to the NFL players, and then actively making those donations then through those channels to the schools. So even though I may not do that directly, I can affect, like I said, I can affect some NFL players. I can affect the sport and through sport and education to go and make some good. And there's a press conference about it. And the mayor of Honolulu said, people could always say you could do more. You could have 3,000, whatever. But if just one of these computers changes one of these children's lives, you should be really, really happy. It was powerful. So, but that is the thing. So there are ways that we can even affect that. And that's where I talk about the third thing that I think about is players as a business.
Any other questions? If not, let's show some love.